You rattle for me? First rattlesnake. Good morning. Gosh, it was a beautiful sunrise. I camped kind of down in a little, well, there are like trees and stuff, which we haven't seen a lot of those. Well, we're still there. It was this kind of vibe. And the sunrise was gorgeous. The sun was like coming through the trees, looking all pretty. Looked like a cover of a church program. I'm gonna try to have a bigger day today. It's gonna be hot, but I got an early-ish start, 6:30. It's still taking me forever to get out of camp. I did well yesterday. I don't know what took so long today, but it was like 45 minutes. That's too long. That's too long. It also got pretty chilly last night. I don't know what the temperature is, but chilly. Chilly, chilly. It's kind of hard to talk yourself out of that tent in the morning when your hands are stiff and cold. And I'm just grateful it's not raining though. That is the worst way to break down camp. Okay, I'll check in with you later. I'm hoping that I can get a good 6 or 8 miles in before it gets too hot. So let's kick it into gear. Good morning. Just walking through this gorgeous little meadow, and so excited to see some little cow friends. Hey, girls. Ooh. Ooh. Yikes! One of you needs to be eating more fiber. Oh, they're so cute. Makes me go home. I didn't grow up on a pig farm, but we got lots of cows in Missouri too. Well, and I love cows. Cows are cool. Do you know how cool cows are? Cows are really cool. Well, let's see. What's a cool cow fact? Female cows, if not ripped apart by agriculture, form like female long-term best friendships. They have like, the ladies have best friends, and they're best friends for life. They go to milk together, they do everything. Cute. Oh, the brown ones are my favorite. Look at that cutie patootie. But they're everywhere. Hey, hey, hey. Oh, what you doing up there? Looking like a picture. Oh, big cow fan. I like the little ones too, but hey, there's a gray cow up here, I think. What is that? I've never seen a gray cow. Let me get up here. Oh, it's black. It's just really dusty and the light was reflecting in a weird way. I mean, it is a little lighter than the others, but false alarm. Hey, cows.
Hello! Hey, if you are sitting there thinking, oh, I want to travel more, I want to go on more adventures, come with me. I host trips around the world. We've been hiking in Patagonia, we went looking for the Northern Lights in Iceland, trekking in Nepal, camping in Banff, Canada, in the Canadian Rockies. We do it all, and we have a real good time. Everyone's welcome, and all the details for any current trips, just click that little bubble up in the top corner, or go to my website, jjb.life/travel. And we almost always make at least one group cringy TikTok. So come hang out with us. We're a real good time.
First rattlesnake. They are pissed. You gone? Okay, just saw my first rattlesnake. Luckily it saw me first. You know, that's the thing with those rattles. They freak you out. But it's good to know they're there. Oh, Lordy. It's been a great day, but the day has ended with a very long exposed climb. I was hoping to get 20 miles in, but I'm at 18 right now. And it looks like there's a really good camping spot and water a half mile ahead. So we're gonna do 18 and a half, and that's great. That's not nothing. It's week 2. So that's great. That's great. Okay, so I'm gonna be the bravest boy, and I'm gonna cowboy camp. Just because I'm tired. I'm just too lazy to get my tent out. I'm tired. Did I mention I'm tired? Because I'm tired. Good morning. How pretty is that? Can you see that fog? Like that fog that's settled down in the valley? I can't see it, but the ocean's way over there. You know, I've been walking for 9 days, but we're still basically in San Diego. Starting the day with a climb. It's 6 a.m. I cowboy camped last night, and that is my favorite thing about cowboy camping. And why I did it, because I didn't want to mess with putting a tent up. I was tired, really tired. And I just didn't want to. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna take a little nap, and then I'll wake up and put my tent up and like get ready for bed. Didn't happen. It was fine. Next time I would probably put my head at the other end. My head was like by the bushes, and I could hear critters in the bushes just moving. Probably just like mice or something, like nothing scary. But they never bothered me that I know of. I didn't wake up, at least. I think if you're in a cowboy camp, you have to kind of be okay with the whole, like, what I don't know ran across me in the middle of the night. Didn't happen. You know? I really need to poop. That's the first order of business. We're just on a pretty intense incline. There's not a good spot. And I don't think I'm that tricky to poop on an incline. Trying to get 20 miles in today. It's another big day. I don't know how it's going to go 2 in a row, but we're going to try. I'm trying to get to Paradise Valley Cafe. Sorry, I'm climbing. I don't know why I chose to start talking to y'all when I was climbing. My manager, Elise, and her husband live not too far from there, and they're going to come meet me. We're going to go have breakfast, probably lunch more so, because then I'll have another 10 miles the next day. But yeah, they're going to meet up with me. It'll be so nice to see some familiar faces. This might be a spot I can poop. I'll be back. Okay, false alarm. Anyway, gonna have a big day. Or that's the plan. And then, after I stop to meet them at Paradise Valley Cafe, which is a great place to spin boxes too if you need to, for Idlewild. But then, I'll be in Idlewild 2 days later, and I'm taking a 0, or 0, not a Nero. If you're new to Thru-Hiking, a 0 is when you stay in one spot for 2 nights so that you have one whole day of rest, laundry, food, all those things, resupply. A Nero is like what I did at that campground, where I had a short morning, I stopped, I got a room for the night, did laundry and all those same things, but then I left the next day. So we're going to take a real 0. I have some work to do, that's why we're taking a real 0, or one of the reasons we're taking a real 0, so I don't know how 0-y it will feel, but I know my body will like the break, for sure. Okay, I really got to buckle down and hike if I'm going to get 20 miles done today, so I'll check in with you in a bit. Y'all, these freaking flowers do not quit. They are awesome. I don't know if that's what I'm allergic to, but if I am, it's worth it. That's what I say. They smell so good. And other people aren't smelling them as much. Thank God for my sensitive nose. I usually don't like it. I usually curse it. But, you know, like on an airplane, if I'm seated near the bathroom, or if you have BO, I notice. But also, if I'm walking through the desert and these bad boys and girls are here, I notice. I don't know if that's what I'm allergic to, but if I am, you're worth it. Hey, I don't want to brag, but I am getting really good at shitting in the woods. Well, hey, cutie. You rattle for me? Please. All right. Well, I couldn't get him to rattle for you, but I think I got him on camera. Cute little rattlesnake. He was a thick one. Just walking by, and he gave me a little rattle. Said, "Hey, I'm here. Watch your back." And I did. Okay, this is officially the sketchiest water source I've had to use so far. It's fine. It's just low and muddy. It stinks. It stinks like Missouri mud. But it's fine. It's filtered. It's fine. My mother knew I was drinking this water. Want to watch another video? Click here. Want to learn more about my upcoming trips? Click here. Want to subscribe and like all my videos and turn those bell notifications on?